All right. Greetings, everyone. All right. Welcome. I'm back. Welcome to Dorsey's Resource. First, before we get started, as I normally do, this video is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. Please understand everyone's individual circumstance or situation may be different. It's up to every individual competent person to please do his or her own homework and research regarding the information being discussed. This information is not to be construed as legal advice. In the event you feel you need to seek a competent professional, it is encouraged that you do so at one's own leisure. Dorsey's Resource is not liable or responsible for any misuse of this information. These are simply my opinions on the topic. With that being said, all rights are reserved. Now, greetings as we jump right into the topic. The topic of this video is going to be a brief update and also open forum discussion, question and answer, and that will be based upon how many we get in the chat. And I'll explain. I wanted to come before you guys earlier. I've been away for a while, and I'm gonna kind of go into the details. I want to acknowledge someone I just saw in the chat. Landon Jefferson says, hello, greetings to you. Welcome to Dorsey's Resource. Thank you for joining. Now, a brief update. As from the previous videos that I've done, I want to let you guys know, my subscribers, followers, I am still here. Had some difficulties sort of recently. I still have been working on gathering information for you guys, good content. It takes time, at the same time, hopefully down the road, I will be able to start the Patreon soon, where I'll be able to go more in depth. I want to say a big shout out to Lady Tech. It was nice meeting her in person. A subscriber that had reached out from the previous video, she was in the chat. And I want to say I do enjoy when I get to meet a few of you all in person. I can't, always, I don't have the time, but it's always a joy. And she's very advanced at the law and a lot of the process is dealing with the redemption education. And I want to say big kudos to her. She's absolutely phenomenal. The discussion we were having about the court, A for V process, situation she been in, she confirmed some of the corruption dealing with the court system, certain things, what works, what doesn't work. It's just more confirmation. And that's just kind of what I'll leave it at. The conversation was high powered. As always, I do enjoy meeting you all behind the scenes. So I want to give a big shout out to her as well, and many others out there that I've met. The update, I injured my knee recently. I wanted to let you guys know I was in excruciating pain this past Monday, Tuesday. Ironically, leading into this week, this is my first night back. I was actually on a vacation since last Wednesday night, because I'm on obviously the graveyard shift, as I mentioned to you guys. I also call the slavery plantation, and I just wanted to let you all know. But in the meantime, I've been trying to rest, been trying to rehabilitate the knee. At first, it's my left knee. I couldn't bend it all the way, but now I'm able to actually bend it, and it kind of interfered with some of the research that I wanted to do and content that I was working on for you all. And I want to say I'll be able to go a lot more in depth as I'm working on the subscription service, the Patreon, and maybe other platforms I'm looking into down the line that doesn't have as much censorship and as many trolls on there. As I do have trolls and moles that follow me. I want to reiterate and reassure those of y'all who are new to this information, to Dorsey's Resource, the type of content that I discuss. This channel is pretty versatile, but I mostly have talked about redemption information. I've talked about that foreign currency. I don't really talk about that anymore, dealing with the GCR, that stands for Global Currency Reset. Talked about the private sector. I want to give a big shout out to Currency 365, by the way, his channel, the awesome work that he's doing, discussing the cryptos. I've talked a little bit about that. I haven't delved into, by no means am I expert, but I want to thank him for sharing my videos. my content, which I want to put on the record. I didn't ask him to do, but this to show you guys there's people who do appreciate my content, and I have gotten requests from behind the scenes with the little amount of subscribers that I do have, just over 6,000. I want to reiterate, I appreciate you all that continue to follow me. Big shout out to you, all my subscribers and followers out there. You are acknowledged, even if I'm not able to respond to your messages. I do read them from time to time. I get numerous messages, and I do intend, hopefully down the road, to try to get on Patreon. I know you're wondering, like, it shouldn't take, but there's things I deal with behind the scenes. Since I'm back, I'm actually the boss. They didn't even ask me. They just scheduled me 6 days this week. Normally, the supervisor will call and ask me, say, Dorsey, can you work Saturday? I told them they were trying to get me to work 7 days a week earlier this year. No lie. It's things Currency 365 talked about in a particular video with some of us content creators, what goes on behind the scenes that sometimes we don't mention. But I kind of wanted to let you guys know, you know, some of my personal life business, there is some challenges, difficulties, but despite the obstacles, I'm still here. I'm a fighter, I'm a warrior, and I do care about you guys and the questions. So let me get to the chat section. It looks like I saw a few people pop in really quick. Tony Benson Mahuka says, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining. Crypto Dead says, hey bro, keep up the good work. A lot of crazy things happening. Seems like China is backing out of the deal with the USA. Not good. Wow. I know that is probably important, dealing with the relations to the reset. I also heard another thing, not just the negotiations going on behind the scenes. For those of you all who are involved with the foreign currencies, the revaluation, the you know what. Another thing is they say we're waiting on. There's cleanup on aisle 3. I interpreted that a long time ago from a particular conference call I listened to. I won't say the name, but I get that they're talking about the arrest, and it's sad that a lot of these cabal members, and that's why I encourage you all to study the banking system. I'm going to mention a few documentaries that I've gone over numerous times in previous videos. If you get a chance, on YouTube, you can mostly watch them for free. However, I just discovered just now earlier tonight, as I checked, this one documentary called Monopoly Men. It was short, like less than an hour, 46 minutes. My cousin told me years ago a lot of people woke up off of that documentary. You now, it looks like, have to pay for it on YouTube. It costs, I think, just $1.99, but you still might be able to find it online. Excellent educational information. It complements another documentary called Money Masters, which you can still watch free on YouTube. I highly suggest, if you get a chance, download Money Masters. There was a guy named Bill Steele who worked on that documentary some years ago. He was also in another documentary related to the connection to the movie Wizard of Oz, connection dealing with the Federal Reserve System, the startup in the early 1900s, evolved around that story with the Wizard of Oz. That was a separate documentary that was done on that, by the way. I've also touched on that previously. There is symbology that ties in with that movie, by the way, that is significant. For example, just a brief rundown, when the book was written in the early 1900s, because years ago, when I was in grade school, my mother had informed me that that was a whole book series. I started to learn that many of these movies were based off of books, just like The Hunger Games was based off a series of books by Susan Collins. The movie Wizard of Oz, just like similar to, there was a TV show that used to air, A Little House on the Prairie. They used to have books, a series of books. I actually like those books. And some teachers in grade school would use them, these books, as their curriculum. Different teachers I've had in grade school would choose, and then there would be like questions like what I'm doing now, question and answer. And by the way, you guys, this is Q&A based on the amount. I know we only have a few people so far, and I'm not sure how long. I am on a time restraint, so I'm going to have to try to make this brief as possible, but you all are welcome to ask questions. This is the best way to reach me, by the way. catch me in the Q&A sessions, and even for future videos, just as a reference, it's best to ask me questions in the Q&A section, by the way. But the premise of Wizard of Oz, the book, going back years ago when Dorothy wore the silver slippers, when she followed the yellow brick road, that symbolized the silver following the gold out the country, because the international bankers, as they were forming the Federal Reserve banking system, the cartel, known as the syndicate group, they set all this up ahead of time in advance. By the way, some of you all already know the story, so this is not, you know, anything new to you all. So just a heads up, I'm aware. But for newbies out there who are just joining this channel or wondering, this information ties in with other things, and it's very, very important. It sets the foundation as far as those out there claiming this type of information is conspiracy theory. No, this is facts, factual information. There's credible things, events that's already taken place, laws that were passed during this time period, like the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, which was further implemented in the Emergency Act of 1933, which is also around the same time period as the bankruptcy of 1933, which is also around the time of the Social Security Act of 1933 and the Securities Act, dealing with that whole time period. And then some wonder, what is the case law that supports these things that took place? Check out the Erie Railroad versus Tompkins case of 1938. Erie Railroad versus Tompkins case of 1938 that talks about the color of law. So I don't want to get too sidetracked from the Wizard of Oz, but Tin Man stood for like your tax identification number. The Cowardly Lion represented Americans who like lose their courage in trying to fight or maintain their struggle within the system, as the movie symbolized. And the Straw Man, of course, dealt with your legal fiction, which in a court system, when I did the previous video, key terminology, definitions to look up, quotations, please check out the N-Lingus. You need a Black's Law dictionary, which is a legal dictionary, even if you aren't studying to be a lawyer. It's why they speak a different language within the court system. Why I said look up the definition of legalese. It was used to give them an advantage within the court system, while masses in the general public do not understand the interpretation. So legalese was put in place to replace plain talk and give them within this English language that we speak, to give them like another hidden symbology, because some of the words that we use have dual meanings. Not just what we were taught in the Webster's Dictionary growing up in elementary school, like understand means to comprehend, but in the court system, it means that you agree to the contract. Like when the police officer pulls you over, he says, ma'am or sir, do you understand you were doing 75 miles per hour in a 45-mile-per-hour zone? And if you say, yes, sir, you get that nervous feeling. I get it, because I've been there before. That's your acquiescence. You are agreeing. When he's saying understand, they may not even understand, as they're trained in this these terminologies, these definitions. And that's why there's lawyers go through training and they can speak, even judges, very well. Their scholastics, their grammatical skills are immaculate. That's why they're very good at the context that they use. And that's something I still have to work on, by the way, and while I'm still studying. But I came across this information. The redemption movement is very important. The definitions, the terminology, the glossary of the words are key to tie in, because if you don't understand the big words of some of these quotations, then you won't understand the puzzles to connect the links, the dots together for this high level, high powered information. And this information is real. There really is a private sector, but you have to, it's like hiding in plain sight within the public. The public school system is used where they keep everyone dumbed down at a certain level, but they have elite schools that elite children go to by invitation only, that are private schools by invitation only, and they are taught by their parents. And so they're sent to private schools not only by invitation only, but they're taught by their parents. So that's why they have an advantage. But below that tier system, within some high net worth people or rich people, high top middle class, the children who go into law, the legal system, and have a high IQ, have high scores on ACTs, SATs. It's not a coincidence, some of this information they come across, but some of them still don't know this elite top level information, because only certain lawyers, believe it or not, I found out, have only been trained on certain types of information at certain universities, such as here Yale, Cambridge, and Harvard, Princeton. By the way, I may be off a couple universities where they teach about these super elite trusts. I won't say the name. I do know the name of what one of these types of trusts are called, that the ruling members of the ruling class elite use other entities to operate. And I'll be able to go into more detail once I have a Patreon account. I'll be able to do a screen capture video, show you guys different things, how I've done information research myself throughout the years. And by the way, this is question and answer, so if you are joining me, feel free. You have any questions while I have a little bit of time left, feel free to chime in. This open forum as well, open question Q&A session. So the brief update is, recently I took a break. I hurt my knee. I feel a lot better, by the way, but it kind of did hinder me, so I just wanted to rest to try to recuperate. I also happened to go on vacation, but I'm now back, and I just wanted to give you guys an update and let you all know what's been going on. I'm still here. I haven't disappeared. I haven't gone away. So, you know, it is for what it is. So, like I said, to reiterate, feel free, guys. If you have any questions, now's the time to catch me. Don't be afraid. I'll do my level best if I can to answer the question. If not, I can get back with you. But this is the best time, best opportunity, even for when I do future videos. If you have any questions for me about anything, or maybe a topic that you would like me to cover or something, feel free to chime in and ask. Don't hesitate. So I went over the information. Wizard of Oz was symbolic movie tied in with the Federal Reserve banking system. Very, very important. That movie was very symbolic. A lot of you all might not be aware of this. Some of the elites, members of the bloodline families, by the way, are aware of this information. By the way, when you study the history, the trustees, the board of trustees, the board members that set up the Federal Reserve banking system. So these documentaries that I went over, if you get a chance, please check out Monopoly Men, Money Masters with Bill Steele. There was another documentary he did with I think this called The Secret of Oz or something like that, and that shows the connection with the Wizard of Oz with the banking system, why I brought that up, by the way, just to reiterate. And then there's another documentary, just in general, type in on YouTube, the history of the Federal Reserve, enslavement, something like that. There's a few different documentaries, and when you watch all these documentaries, they will definitely help connect the missing pieces, the dots together, and will give you the blueprint. Kind of like before a structure of a building or high-rise building is built, the architects have the blueprint to how I'm giving you the map to how the building is built. If there's like the World Trade Center, a massive Sears Tower, architects, engineers have the blueprint. So when I go over this basic information, by the way, and redemption information, which is real, by the way, I'm giving you all the blueprint to understanding that there really is an elite. Those that try to tell you, dismiss it, they say, oh no, that Illuminati stuff is made up. Oh, Dorsey, that's fake. That's not real. No, it is very real. The ruling class elite, the bloodline families, global syndicate, Bilderberg group, and the connection to the secret societies as well. These documentaries will help propel you in your education, your research, as it's done for me, to go in depth. You can't just be a weekend warrior, as some of the military people used to tell me years ago when I was contemplating on joining, going part-time. They would say, oh, you're just a weekend warrior. You should go in full-time, which is funny because you can make more money. You know, you can go in sometimes a higher rank if you have degrees, stuff like that. But just using that as an example, you want to look at this information in depth. You can't just be a weekend warrior, say, hey, I checked that out, or I'm aware of that information, Dorsey. I suggest you should go over that again. Constantly go over it, because I do myself, to brush up Just like in corporate America, when board members or presidents have meetings, and in different departments, managers to go over information to brush up, and the staff, so the staff people can be sharp and stay sharp over this information. That information is highly important. So that documentary, once again, I went over Monopoly Men, which I think you now have to pay for on YouTube. I found a chopped up version, a few videos, which are short. But check out Monopoly Men. My cousin told me some years ago, a lot of people woke up off that documentary alone. And that's less than an hour. It's like 46 minutes, 46 something minutes. Money Masters is pretty long, so you may have to take some time watching that. Just let it, you know, chop it up or whatnot.
6-8, all units, radio check.
Hold on, guys.
That's good copy. Radio check complete. 0100.
Okay, thank you guys. I'm back as usual. As you all know, I'm still, you know where, but just going over this information to reiterate, those documentaries also can show you in certain ones examples that I'm not really showing you on the screen. In some of my previous videos, I have done screen captures, by the way, to show like the national debt clock, the price of silver and gold, like with coinflation.com. You can also check kitco.com. I also showed a map as well for one particular site that shows like some of the families. It was an older map that someone put from like the 1970s or whatever, but it gives a good analysis for those to connect the pieces to the people, the figureheads in charge dealing with the banking system, for those that try to accuse this information of being a conspiracy theory or fake, that just try to dismiss it. No, this is real facts. That facts, it's important that real educational facts matter. That this information is genuine evidence as to material fact. This information that I'm going over is genuine evidence as to material fact. Facts do matter, but it's important that you get real facts, not someone that's hiding behind a fake ghost account, a pseudonym name. You have someone who's showing their real face, my channel. So I'm giving you credible information, by the way, high-powered information. By the way, you will not be disappointed. Don't take my word for it. I'm so confident in what I share with you all. Don't take my word for what I say. Look up the information, research it. You will not be disappointed. It will help connect the pieces together, because it's important that you connect the dots. And these documentaries that I went over. Also, another important documentary is called Changes on the Horizon. Please check out Changes on the Horizon. Last time I checked, you were still able to watch it for free on YouTube. And YouTube, by the way, with some of these documentaries, they used to rank high in the search results, but to show you they don't want you to know some of this information, they pushed it down, where a lot of these documentaries, there used to be multiple channels that would upload these documentaries, but now they recognize there's a lot of people waking up, so this is like a threat to them. So I want to give you guys a heads up, because the club members, they're shaking like, oh my God, the slaves or serfs are waking up. They don't want you all to know this information, literally. But it's important, and I think when that TDA movement broke out a couple years ago that I was part of, when Mike O'Brien was having a conference calls that we were having with Harvey Dent, Triple Moore, Extra Light, and others out there that had were sharing information about their experience. And it's not about the reversals, but there's I do have something I won't mention, probably on Patreon I will, that is actually working for me, that I did use one of my so-called secret account, because remember, your social security number was the account number. If you look up online, you still Google it or research it before they try to scrub it. I suggest you screen capture it. It states old social security cards used to say account number on them years ago, the older formats that they had. They used to say account number. And I talked to someone who was an elder, by the way, that told me years ago they were in grade school, and the elementary teacher, middle school teacher, told them when it came out at the time, or was still new, that it would be used to identify you in case something happened to you. They told me that their teacher went over this with them So I have confirmation from a source. Also, there's those out there that say it's not used for identification purposes. And what is meant by that is it means identification, photo identification to get in a club. But when Chase Bank, I asked the banker, this is a true story, and she told me if you didn't have certain other forms of identification, they would use your social security number as a form of identification to help identify you, by the way, through like a process of elimination. Because they can take several IDs. They could take not just your driver's license, your social security card. You can even use your bank debit card as a form of ID as well, where they told me as long as you have that. And a lot of times they like to take that instead of your driver's license or ID because it's a lot easier, because it just links, or you put the chip right in there, that device they have that's sitting right at the teller window, by the way. So this is information, despite this gatekeeper out there saying this stuff, that it wasn't used, it's not to be used for identification, because it does say that on there, yes. But I told a friend of mine to get more in depth, and once again, if I start I get on Patreon, I'll be able to explain these things more in depth, what they're not telling you, and how they hide things from the public sector, and how a lot of gatekeepers out there, minions and underlinks below the ruling class, some of them don't know. Just keep in mind they haven't been taught, but some of them are in the know, or partially aware, but just are wicked, mean-spirited people and just don't want you becoming free. That just because they're mad they're enslaved, they want to keep you enslaved as well. By the way, there's people that are like that. By the way, there's a lot of haters, just not just online moles, trolls, and moles out there, but there's real life gatekeepers that are just hateful people, that are minions, that were claiming that they want to help. So watch out for those. There are ways to identify them, by the way, because once things that are dark must be brought to light. And we are in the Aquarian Age, as every so many thousands of years, the universe also passes through a different astrological house after so many years. So we left the Piscean Age and we're in the Aquarian Age, which is the age of truth, the age of enlightenment. So the ruling class, the elites, have been trying to suppress this information, like from inventors, technologies and things, but it's going to be bound to come out no matter what. As much as they try to squeeze it, it's going to come out. They won't be able to grasp a hold of it in this awakening period, this astrological age that we're in, by the way. So I can get into spirituality too, by the way. So with that being said, you guys, I don't see any questions so far. This is the last call to jump in if you have any questions before I get ready to shut this video down, by the way. But I just brief update to let you guys know I'm back. I was gone for a while. Also, some of my family members or personal friends that are on my personal Facebook account, the reason I haven't been on there lately, I haven't been as active, I hurt my knee, and the story behind that was some time ago I had a situation where I stay at, I wasn't sure, it had backed up from one of the other units where I live at, and I thought it was the garbage disposal, so I took it apart with no tools, and I used my left knee to prop it up. And my left knee had always kind of been my bad knee, and I believe, I'm not 100% sure, I could have potentially damaged the meniscus. It didn't show up till later one night. I was getting ready for work, and I felt seemed like my knee almost slipped in place, and when I looked up, meniscus tears, it is a common type of knee injury other than the anterior cruciate ligament. That's the ACL, and then you have the MCL or whatnot. But I think it's a meniscus tear, possibly, because I heard a pop, the clicking sensation. And but I remember a week ago I couldn't actually bend it, but now I can actually bend it straight, by the way, all the way. But earlier my knee was trying to lock up on me. So I'm going to do my level best to rehabilitate it. I do know about herbalism. I do have nutraceuticals and things. I plan on doing some videos on that down the road, and things like omega-3s and other types of nutrients that the body needs, and magnesium. That's also important for your bones, that can rehabilitate, bones and joints as well. Fish oil as well, just by the way. So that's why I've been out for a while, guys, just to let you know. So I wanted to bring you guys high-powered information. I'm still here. I want to thank you all who continue to follow me. So I see we don't have any questions so far. So as I'm going to get ready to shut things down, remember you can follow me on Facebook at Dorsey's Resource. I'm on Twitter, by the way, at Dorsey's Resource. Obviously on YouTube at Dorsey's Resource. I'm also on minds.com, by the way, which doesn't have the censorship like YouTube, which the algorithms are so much better, by the way, with the few amount of subscribers that I had. A lot of love, big shout out to the people behind minds.com. And there are many other web hosting platforms that I'm not on yet that I am paying attention to, where some of the content creators who were deplatformed by YouTube have already moved to, by the way. Just a heads up, wink wink, by the way, you know, because the club members don't want you to know this information, but we are still here. We're still in the fight to give you guys the information. So I want to thank you for joining me, my followers, subscribers who continue to follow me. I'm your host, John Dorsey, and the third, by the way, I want to say, you know, I am a third. I haven't really mentioned that, by the way, but it's important. So my real name. So I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be here, and thank you for following me. Until next time, take care.